everyone, and welcome to my pre-Game Week 5 FPL live stream. Good to see you guys in the chat already. So yeah, do make sure you get your questions in. I'll try and answer everyone as best as I can ahead of the Game Week 5 deadline tomorrow. This is my regular Friday evening slot. I think next week it goes back to Thursday potentially. I know there's one coming up where I need to move it to a Thursday. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy tonight. Hopefully I can answer your questions. And of course, hopefully I can lock my team in ahead of tomorrow's deadline without the pressure of the clock ticking away in the background. So hope you're all having a good time. Do say hi in the chat. And without further ado, let's move over to the live screen. So this is how I'm set up. I don't know whether you've had the opportunity to watch my team selection. It was a little bit late this week. I had a work day in the office yesterday. I had to go in for a content filming day, so I didn't have the chance to film it until quite late last night, luckily after a couple of the press conferences. But I don't know whether you had the opportunity to see it, so this might be the first time you see my team going into Game Week 5. Coming back down to earth with a bit of a bump after what was a really pretty positive Game Week 4. I didn't have Haaland, didn't have João Pedro, but the free hit still did very well, 77 points, up to 1.4 million. So off to a pretty good start. I'm happy enough with where I'm at the moment, but I've only got one free transfer to deal with this mess and 0.8 in the bank to do so. 3 flagged players, Murillo, Sarr and Strand Larsen. Will be going through the injury news and all the press conferences in just a moment's time. But of course, I've got issues that I need to deal with. The one thing I do have, luckily this week, is a bit more of a bench to be able to cope with it. Whereas last week, if I hadn't a free hit, it would have looked a little bit worse. This week, even though there are some rough fixtures in there on the bench with Everton away at Liverpool, I think there are enough routes to points for me to rely on my bench a little bit more comfortably than I could have last week. I also expect 1 or 2 of those flag players to play. So Sarr, I have no doubt whatsoever that he's going to be out. I think he only returns to training on Sunday, according to Glasner. But with Strand Larsen, it looks like he's going to be fit enough to be involved. Whether or not that's from the start remains to be seen, and probably not for 90 minutes. But I think I'll get some minutes out of him. So I've got a bit of a question mark as to whether I start Tarkowski over him or not, because Undai will be coming off my bench for Sarr either way. So it's, do I start Tarkowski, who I'm not expecting a clean sheet from, or do I start Strand Larsen in the hope that he starts the game against Leeds and gets maybe 60, 70 minutes with the risk of him maybe only coming off the bench and getting a 1-pointer? So I need to think about that. And yeah, if you've got any advice on that, do feel free to chuck it in the chat as well. And then Murillo is the other question mark as well. And I think that's probably 50-50. I think with Murillo, though, the good news is that we're either going to get him starting the game or not coming off the bench whatsoever. I think it's quite rare for a centre-back like him to be getting 20 minutes off the bench at the end. So I would expect him to be a non-issue. I'll start him, and if he doesn't play, fine, I've just got to rely on my bench. A couple of other players I'm maybe a little bit cautious of going into the game week. Pedro Porro possibly might get rotated out with the matchup against Mitoma, possibly. I mean, I think that's speculative at best, and I think he'll start, but he's not on set pieces anymore. And Maresca mentioned 1 or 2 knocks from their Champions League tie as well, so maybe João Pedro could be potentially an issue, but I think it's all okay. Anyway, yeah, hi to everyone in the chat. Gaston is in the chat. So yeah, just made your transfer, Sarr to Simmons. More on Simmons later. I really like him for this week and onwards. I think he's looked very good, especially from set pieces. Prediction on the Saints Hull game tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? I think it's a 3 p.m. kickoff tomorrow. I mean, I've got to go for a Saints win, haven't I? Hopefully we can start putting together a little bit more of a cohesive run now that Pompey's out the way. I'm going to go 2-0. I'm not fully confident, but I'll go 2-0. Fingers crossed on that one. We need to get back to winning ways. And bench 2 of Reinders, King or Rodon. Yeah, I mean, King I would probably bench now because his minutes have been sliding, haven't they? So if I use... Let's have a look at the data here and the minutes. Yeah, they've been going down week on week. He was under 60 minutes against Leeds. I would be a little bit worried that he gets that again if not possibly even doesn't start. So I think King would be benched, and you needed 2 benched, didn't you? So, I mean, Rodon's very good on the defensive contribution, so I would quite like that. But I also think Reinders is being overlooked a little bit this week. I know it's Arsenal, and obviously the odds of a goal are a bit lower in this game, but I feel like there are going to be moments where the game's stretched, and I actually don't mind him in this game. He's been getting 90 minutes. I don't think they can rest him. I'd be tempted to go with Reinders, but I think Rodon is also fine for this week. It's not like Fulham score a ton of goals, and Leeds have been good defensively. He's good on defensive contributions. I'd bench King and one of Rodon or Reinders. I'd probably be tempted to... I mean, I do quite like Defcon, so I might be tempted to actually go with starting Rodon, to be honest. Maggot in the chat as well, another local, close to where I live. So evening, mate. Hope all is well. Martin in the chat as well, was thinking of bringing in Matoma as a 5-6 punt. Now, this might be a good time, actually, because 2 mentions of players in the chat already that I do quite fancy for this week. We'll skip over the team news for now. I do a best differentials, a bit of a game with myself every week. And the 3 that I'm picking, Anderson, I really like for this week. I think he'll get DEFCONs, decent odds of a clean sheet. But Mitoma, who's been mentioned in the chat, and Xavi Simons as well. I do both fancy both of them for this week. Mitoma as a direct matchup against Porro could be quite a nice thing. Porro does like to get forward, might leave spaces in behind, so I fancy Mitoma to get something in that one. And then game week 6, who is it they go up against in game week 6? I feel like it must be... I can't remember. Oh, it is Chelsea away. Not a great fixture, but I don't mind him for this week. I mean, he's never a bad pick because the minutes have looked good, haven't they? I don't know if there's too many players that can rotate with him either. I mean, he's got 2 returns in the last 2. We know he's kind of just that reliable pick in FPL. He's not got a ton of routes to points, but I don't mind him whatsoever at 6.4. Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty safe pick, isn't he? He's a safe punt to be going with. Let's have a look. What else is going on? Would you put Dubravka in instead of Sanchez? I mean, I'm starting Sanchez, but there's not a lot in it. I just have a feeling that Nottingham Forest are going to be good enough going forwards now that it would put me off picking a much weaker defence going up against them. So Burnley at home to Nottingham Forest, not a bad fixture for them, but Burnley... Championship standards, very good defence, but by Premier League standards, they're amongst the worst in terms of their underlying statistics so far. And although Sanchez is going up against a better opposition in Man United and away from home, the defence is that much better, and I do expect him having a relatively similar chance of keeping a clean sheet. So, I mean, there's really not much in it. I would have no qualms whatsoever with putting Dubravka in instead of Sanchez, but... I'm marginally favouring Sanchez right now. I think in 50-50s, I tend to go with the better team or the better player overall, and I think Sanchez and Chelsea are both of those things. So yeah, I'm going with Sanchez on that one. Although this was a week that I had kind of earmarked as a potential bench boost for me because Burnley had a decent fixture and it wasn't obvious which keeper I'd be starting. So again, with that logic, I've got nothing against going with Dubravka. Bench Neco Williams or Pedro Porro. I'd probably bench Porro, to be honest. Lost set pieces. I think Williams away at Burnley is a better chance of a clean sheet. He's also got a bit of attacking threat. Historically not done too badly on Defcons either. I'd probably start Williams out of the 2. That's my personal opinion. I don't love Porro for this week. Away at Brighton, not great odds of a clean sheet. Offset pieces. Maybe just a sneaky chance of a benching. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's possible. So yeah, Porro for me, probably benched out of those 2. Dilemma is, Maggot's dilemma is Palmer for Bruno, or do I roll? I'd roll this week probably, unless you've got nothing to worry about. It's also quite down to future planning. So if I had unlimited transfers this week, there's probably 2 or 3 moves I'd make, but I don't think Palmer's that far ahead of Bruno this week that it's worth making the transfer for if it locks you out of making a move next week that you are desperate to. So my team, for instance, I'm looking at getting to Haaland next week. And to do that, I don't want to take a hit. So no transfer this week is really worth making for me, because the opportunity cost would mean a -4 next week. So I'd take another week, or take a look at what your transfers in the next 2 or 3 weeks are. Palmer is, I would say, slightly better than Bruno this week, but there's not much in it. And the minutes might not be perfect, considering he played 90 in midweek and he is building fitness back up. I think he's a great pick this week. I just don't know whether it's worth a transfer if it prevents you from doing other stuff. So I'd always try and look for excuses to roll, and that's what I'm trying to do this week as well. I'm perfectly happy with Bruno as a pick for this week. Not excited, but happy with it. Would I punt on, or sorry, would I put Foden in? Again, probably not with free transfers necessarily. If I was on a wild card, I'd be considering him. I think he looks like early signs are very good that he could be back to where we expect Foden to be, and his levels are improving week on week. So I do really like him. I would consider him on a wild card. I consider him on, well, maybe not a free hit this week against Arsenal, but long term, I think he's a pick that will start getting a lot more interest very soon. But I think it's just a very good excuse this week against Arsenal, the best defence in the league, to just leave it for now and just see whether he continues to start, continues to look good, continues to get good minutes. And if he does, then Burnley is the opportune moment to be looking at taking a bit of a punt on him. So hopefully that answers your question, but no, I wouldn't be rushing to get to him this week. Sorry, loads of questions in the chat, so trying to keep up with it all. What about double Arsenal defence? Not this week, but again, overall, I would be considering it very soon. Game week 7 onwards, it looks really good for Arsenal defence. The odds of clean sheets dramatically improve week on week. In fact, this might be a good opportunity to go over to Solio, which don't sponsor me, by the way, just very, very good tool. I would go check it out. The link is in the description below. And I've got the clean sheet odds week on week here. So I mean, Arsenal, even against City, have a 32% chance of a clean sheet. That is kind of nuts when you think about it. Against Newcastle, away from home, 30%. But then after that, game week 7 onwards, you've got a 52% chance against West Ham, 41% against Fulham, 48% against Palace. And anything above a 40% chance is really, really good. You don't get many of that week on week. So, yeah, 7 to 10, you've got all of them above 40% chance. Burnley in 10, Sunderland 50%, Tottenham at home 41%. So from game week 7 to game week 12, I would be doubling up on Arsenal defence if I could. I think that looks like a great shout, but not quite yet. Although, if you're on a wildcard this week, you might just want to store them and stack them. So it removes the need for future free transfers. So I'd understand that. Yeah, so John in the chat asking a very good technical question about the wildcard, which is, would you roll this week wildcard 6 with 2 free transfers, as there just aren't many good options to transfer in this game week? I would absolutely agree with that 100%. I think if you can roll this week, even if you're wildcarding in game week 6, this is a great time to try and look at rolling the transfer. This week, more than pretty much any week that I can remember in the last couple of years, if your team doesn't need it, and look, I mean, my team should be a case study in not rolling this week because I've got problems. I've got a lot of issues with my side, but even I'm looking at trying to roll this week because I just think there's so much more upside with moves that can be made in game week 6, but then also if you're wildcarding in 6, in game week 7 as well. If you've got 2 free transfers in game week 7 after wildcarding, you might not need to have double Arsenal on your wildcard. You could get to them in game week 7 when their fixtures improve, or you could leave Palmer to one side for a week and then get to him by the time you get to game week 8. So I think it's always powerful to try and roll into a wildcard. So yeah, John, I completely agree. If you don't need to make a transfer, I'd try and roll this week. May sell Reinders and put Foden in. Don't do that this week. I don't think it's worth it on the upside. I don't think there's enough between the 2 picks. Especially as Reinders is just so much cheaper. He's a player that I'm looking at buying next week, potentially, against Burnley. So yeah, I do not understand why people are selling Reinders. He's been unlucky not to get more. He should have gotten a goal in game week 4. Really unlucky not to. Has looked highly involved in the attacking phases. The data isn't amazing yet, but again, he's 5.7 million. He's cheap. And any Man City player getting 90 minutes week on week should be in consideration, especially one who's playing in well, it's kind of a hybrid between the 8 to the 10 role for City, I just wouldn't be selling him at the moment until the minutes are at risk, and that will only happen once he does get benched or rotated out. I would still be pretty hot on him. And Burnley next week, I just no way I'd be selling him at the moment. Benching him this week, I understand, but selling him, not so much. Thoughts on Wood captain? I don't mind it as a differential. I'd be a little bit concerned about the minutes, but 59 against Arsenal was probably more indicative of the fact that he had an international break on the other side of the world and the game was already kind of gone. So I don't think it's massive panic stations on Chris Wood yet. Over time, he might lose minutes to the new system a little bit, but I don't think it's the best captain this week, but I don't hate it as a differential. And Burnley are not a good defence. So, yeah, I mean, I really don't hate it. Don't let me put you off of it. So what else we got in the chat? We've got Martin in the chat as well. Was considering Cunha and Porro to Anderson and Matoma. And then I can afford Haaland next week. If you can afford Haaland next week through making those moves, I think that's a good idea. Although Cunha looks like he might be fit this week. So, again, might not be the worst pick to hold on to. Also, again, with Mitoma, I wonder if you've got someone like Reinders or maybe Kudus or Xavi Simons in your side already. If you don't, then maybe consider those. If you can bench Reinders this week, again, cheaper than Mitoma, you might then be able to still afford Haaland, and then you'd have double City at home to Burnley next week. Just one to consider. But yes, I do like Anderson at home to Brentford this week. I like Mitoma this week, so I don't hate those moves. And if it means that you've got a route to Haaland next week, then again, I don't hate that whatsoever. As long as it's not for a hit, I should add. Spurs fan here, expect Xavi to return more when he moves to the number 10. I agree. I am a little surprised that we haven't seen that already, but I think it's coming. I don't think it's a million miles off, and maybe this is the week he does. I'm looking at potentially bringing in Xavi Simons next week, and I'm hoping that we see him in that central role this week, and that would give me more confidence to go with him in game week 6. So yeah, fingers crossed on that one. I am expecting him to do better when he moves over to the number 10 role, which I am expecting to happen soon. So yeah, completely agree, Bossuno. FPL Hippier from Blue Sky, as always. Thank you so much, mate. I always appreciate you joining. Spent it big with most expensive defender being Senesi. Yeah, I like Senesi. Even for this week, I like Senesi against Newcastle. I mean, he's just getting DEFCON every week. So the floor is like 3 to 4 points minimum now. If he keeps a clean sheet, you're looking at 8-9 points. It's just a really good pick, and I will very likely be including him on a wild card. So spat my dummy out and hit wild card last week after a 55-point week. Really wished I had waited until game week 6 now. Arsenal versus City fixture is a bit of a killer. Yeah, but look, it's 1 week and you've wildcarded for the long term, right? So 1 week of a bad fixture, and also like good players can return in any week. It's not impossible for Haaland or Haaland to get a goal, or Reinders to get a goal, or Arsenal to keep a clean sheet. Something has to happen in that game. So some players are going to get points one way or another, whether that's clean sheets or goals, or it's just because they're up against each other, it lowers the average upside overall. So if you've got 3 of each, then your team, unless you get really lucky with a Haaland brace after Gabriel goes off injured in the 65th minute with a clean sheet, and obviously the combination makes it harder to get the massive upside, but some players are still going to score points in that fixture. So I wouldn't panic too much about it. It just limits your upside a little bit for 1 game week. And everyone has bad game weeks every now and then. Like 3 or 4 times a year, you will get a 30 to 40 point week. It will just happen. It always does. And as long as your team is set up well for the long term, I really wouldn't be panicking too much. I'm sure you've picked a good wild card with the long term in mind, so don't panic too much about 1 fixture in game week 5. But I understand the frustration completely. Murillo, have Murillo as my first sub, but I keep looking at Ndai and Ndinga and wonder if I should bench one of those 2 instead. I mean, I'm benching Ndai ahead of Murillo, although it's not really between those 2, is it? Because I need 3 defenders, so I think I just start Murillo. I think he'll either start the game and therefore likely to play the 90, or he just won't come off the bench or just won't play at all. I don't think it's very likely that he comes on as a sub. So the risk of starting him is very low. And it's a good clean sheet fixture. So I'd be starting Murillo over Ndai or Adingra, to be honest. But neither of those two picks are bad. I just like the clean sheet odds for Nottingham Forest against Burnley this week, and I think it's a good opportunity for Murillo to get that clean sheet if he plays. But if he doesn't, I don't expect him to come off the bench. So you would then get Ndai or Adingra coming off your bench anyway. So I don't think it's a problem. Who is better to start in game week 5, Rodon or Van der Ven or I think that's Tarkowski, maybe? I would assume. I would say Rodon out of those three, which sounds weird. I'm going to use Solio as a bit of a guide on this one very quickly, but I'm going to go Rodon. So we've got the market odds projections. Let's go to defenders very quickly. Who have we got at the top of the list for defender points this week? So Rodon is up at 3.62 because of the DEFCON. That is big for Rodon. Then you've got, who else did you ask about? Van der Ven will be below that, no question. But he's miles down. Van der Ven at 3.04, so that is correct as far as I'm concerned. And then Tarkowski is down at 3.4 as well. So I would be benching Van der Ven and Tarkowski ahead of Rodon. I'd start Rodon this week, personally. But I do expect Tarkowski to get DEFCON, and therefore his floor's not too bad either. Van der Ven, I don't expect to get DEFCON quite as much or quite as often. I don't think any of them are horrible picks this week, but I'd start Rodon. Captain Lacroix or Salah all day long. Salah, no question about it, miles ahead. Yeah, I mean, look, differential, I don't hate Lacroix, but Salah is the better pick for me for captaincy, no question. I mean, Lacroix, what's he expected to get this week? Have I scrolled past him already? 3.92. So it's all about half of what Salah's expected to get. And look, I mean, if he keeps a clean sheet, if he gets DEFCON, then you're looking at an 8 to a 10 pointer. So it's not bad. But Salah only needs one goal to match that. And it's a good fixture. And even if he just gets that goal without bonus, he's still probably matching Lacroix more often than not. And that's if Lacroix does get a clean sheet and does get either bonus or DEFCON. So you're asking for a lot of things to go right for Lacroix to be the better pick. But with that being said, I do like Lacroix this week, just not as much as I like Salah for captaincy. But don't let me put you off of it. If you want to go differential, if you like playing it that way, that is absolutely fine. Sorry, the chat is absolutely buzzing at the moment. Thank you so much, by the way. I really appreciate you guys joining me on a Friday night. If you are enjoying it, if you could go one step further and hit like and hit subscribe, that would be really, really appreciated. I'd be massively grateful. The growth of my channel has been quite slow recently. My videos haven't actually been doing as well as I would have liked, to be very honest. But it is what it is. We ride out these storms. It's fine. I'm still getting viewers, and I still really appreciate those of you who are joining. And I'm off to a good start. Why aren't people watching me? I'm up at 1.4 million. Let's celebrate that. Let's not, actually. That's not particularly great, is it? Okay, so Eman in the chat, Foden or Reinders game week 6. I'm thinking about going Foden. I think if you can afford Foden, he's a great pick in game week 6. But obviously, he comes in over 2 million more expensive than Reinders. So it's what can you do with that extra 2 million? And Reinders looks very secure for minutes at the moment. So I think whilst they're on the pitch, Foden is the better pick. He's more attacking, more routes to points. I just have a soft spot for him as well. I think he's a fantastic FPL asset on his day, but he is 2.3 million more expensive than Reinders. So it's what you can do with that extra money. But if it's just a straight shootout and money isn't a problem, then I prefer Foden if you know he's going to start in game week 6 or if you're confident. Reinders is on my radar to transfer out. I just wouldn't be transferring him out at the moment, personally. I get that it's a bad fixture this week, and I get that he's blanked a few times in a row, but nothing I've seen from him suggests that he's a bad pick for me. Not for that price. He's not a Salah. He's not a Foden even. I wouldn't expect him to get those sort of returns. But again, at 5.7 million, you're looking at him competing with a Caicedo or an Anderson. And I think he's well in the mix for a very good attacking side with good fixtures coming around the corner. Have to decide wildcard next week to get in Haaland or take a -4 to get him and use triple captain. Either way, I'll be using a chip in game week 6. Yeah, good point. I mean, yeah, good question in the chat. I'm going to end the previous poll very quickly. Looks like a lot of people are rolling, but I'm also going to add in a new poll now and ask, are you planning... I'll just put Chip next, Chip game week 6. I'm just interested in this. So triple cap, wildcard is going to be popular, I would imagine. I'm not even ruling out a wildcard. Free hit was always popular as well. Not so sure about bench boost. I'm just going to go... Yeah, I'm just going to leave bench boost for now. I haven't seen a load of bench boosts, so I'll put none. But if some people are bench boosting, do let me know in the chat. Really interested in this. I am considering triple captain on Haaland. I would say... What would I say? Is it worth a hit? I would assume that you'd be removing Salah as part of that. I don't think it's then worth a hit to do so. Like Salah away at Crystal Palace, I think it's Crystal Palace, it is, next week, is not a plum fixture. But Salah is Salah, and he'll return more often than not. And I just don't know if it's ever worth a hit to get rid of Salah. We saw what happened last year with Haaland being triple captained early against Southampton. He was in great form, got 3 XG or something crazy against Southampton and blanked. So it's not often worth a hit, I don't think. But if you're determined to triple captain no matter what, then fair enough. If you're really bullish on Haaland triple cap against Burnley. But that being said, I think there are still good opportunities later on in the season. So I don't think it's a necessity to be taking a hit to make sure you can triple captain. Put it that way. Thinking game week 7 triple Arsenal or Eze or Gyökeres. I'd be looking at Gyökeres at the moment over Eze just because of the penalties, and I think he's just going to have a bit more goal threat. But Eze's cheaper as well, and he's looked really good as well. So I don't mind either. When we get to game week 7, we'll definitely be answering that question because it's likely I'm on a wild card probably around that time. So I'll be definitely looking at that in more detail at that point. Palmer captain, yeah, he would probably be my second favourite this week. I think I put it on my team selection video that he was my preferred option after Salah. Away at Man United, I do quite like that. Play Livramento or Porro. Oof. Tough one. Livramento or Porro. What would I do? I mean, Newcastle have been so good defensively. Like, so good defensively. What are the odds? Let's have a look. Newcastle 23, Spurs 18. So there's not a lot in it. And Porro does have more attacking threat. That is a tight call. I think I'd start Porro. I think Spurs look like they're really focused on their defensive responsibilities at the moment. I think I'd maybe just maybe slightly favour Porro because he's got the attacking upside as well. So there's a better chance of upside. But Livramento is probably in one of the best defences in the league right now. It's just because they go up against Bournemouth away, and Bournemouth are a very good attack as well with Semenyo in red-hot form. So I'd probably maybe go with Porro. But again, not much in it. Who is better to start tomorrow, Rodon or Van de Ven? I answered that one, sorry, my bad. We'll move forward. Foden is more explosive, I completely agree. Than Reinders, I would say. I think that's probably where the point in the chat we were talking about. So yeah, I agree. Foden is more explosive. He's got that hat-trick potential, doesn't he? We've seen it before. Yeah, you don't get better than Haaland versus Burnley at home. That is true. That is very true, Martin. Objectively, a very good time to triple captain. But is it worth the -4 when you could triple captain someone who's probably not quite as good as Haaland versus Burnley? But is it 4 points better? That's the question. I don't know if it is. I don't think there's a 4-point margin between... Well, again, actually, I shouldn't rely on projections so much because we should take it with a pinch of salt. But right now, Haaland is projected, market odds, all of that, 8.07 at home to Burnley, which is very, very good. That's one of the highest ones you'll see. However, let's go, I don't know, game week... Salah in game week 10, I don't even know the fixture in game week 10, but he's projected 7. So it's not even that far off. It's 1 point off. You've got Salah at 8.43 in game week 14. Don't even know what fixture that is. What fixture is that? Let's have a look. Is that Sunderland? Sunderland in game week 14 at home, who have looked good, but he's still projected over what Haaland's projected this week because he's got the other routes to points, right? He's got one more point for the goal. He's got the clean sheet. He could get DEFCON. It's unlikely. But yeah, there are other opportunities to do so. Game week 15, Haaland's not far off of what he would be expected in game week 6. So look, I think it's a great opportunity to triple captain Haaland, but is it worth a hit? I'm not sure. That would be my only hesitation there. Who would you captain this week? I'm captaining Salah all day long. Yeah, no question mark at all for me on Salah. Yeah, very confident on that. Well, I say confident. I'm very confident he will be my captain. Put it that way. I'm not expecting a massive haul from him, but there aren't many other picks I would expect that from. Cunha and Mount are fit. Yeah, actually, good shout. Let's go over to the static graphics and have a look at the team news quickly. So yeah, I pull this together after the press conferences each week, just as a quick roundup of what to expect for the doubts. Unfortunately, three of my players are doubts this week. Strand Larsen, it looks like he's going to get minutes, but how many minutes is very much up for debate. So I've got a decision to make as to whether or not I need to start or want to start him this week, or perhaps start either Tarkowski or Estev. I think I'm probably leaning towards starting Strand Larsen, but it's not an easy one. Murillo's a doubt. Cunha's fit to play, but I've still got him as like a 75%, just because I'm not expecting the minutes to be great straight away, but I think he'll probably start. I think Saliba will probably start, come back in. De Kalper as well, likely to come back in. Saka and Ødegaard, interestingly, weren't completely ruled out of this week's fixtures, so they might be bolstered by Saka and Ødegaard being back in. The ones that are out, Sarr looks like he's out, Shah looks like he's out, Sarr and Shah. Tielemans looks like he's out, but not for as long as we initially thought, maybe 1 to 2 game weeks. No update on Marmoush or Ait Nuri, but it looks like they'll be out. Wiss is out until the international break, and Aina is out as well. So yeah, pretty quick roundup there, but no big surprises. It looks like players coming back in. Yeah, we're getting there on injuries. I think. I don't think there's any big news this week. What else we got in the chat? I mean, I just cannot keep up with the chat. Thank you so much, guys. It's very, very, very good of you. I'm sorry if I miss any questions, but it's moving across and I take too long answering so many of them. So, yeah, I apologise for that. Gakpo to Semenyo or roll? I'd roll. It sounds like Slot is pretty bullish on Gakpo being their left winger of choice. So I expect him to start against Everton, and actually I prefer the Everton home fixture to Semenyo against Newcastle. So yeah, I think I'd prefer Gakpo this week anyway. Semenyo's in great form, but form is hard to predict as a future calculation. So I want Semenyo, but I wouldn't be ripping apart my team or even using transfers to get rid of Liverpool players to get to Semenyo this week. So I'd roll. Let's have a look at the poll. Triple captain 44%, 16 votes. So yeah, we've got quite a few more viewers than that. So yeah, do get your votes in. 40%, 47% aren't using a chip. A few people wildcarding as well. Yeah, interesting to see as always. I can just about do Bruno to King and Ollie to Haaland if I want to keep Salah. That is interesting. That is very interesting. I do like that, because that could be like a wild card postponement if you can fit in both of them. Yeah, Sam, I like that. I mean, Ollie's been bad as well, hasn't he? Watkins has just been poor. Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Yeah. You can wildcard 5, then TC6 on Haaland if you're bullish. Yeah, you could do that. That is one good reason why I would look at wildcarding this week, is if you were really adamant you wanted to have Haaland triple captain next week. If I don't TC, I'm eyeing up Haaland in 13 versus Leeds. Yep. Or 17 versus West Ham. Yeah, West Ham looks like a good fixture to be targeting at the moment, although I don't expect Potter to be there by that time, so things might change. But yeah, at the moment, if things stay the same, then yeah, West Ham looks like a fixture to be looking for a haul from. Palmer also interests me against Wolves in game week 11. Yeah, I like that. Palmer, I think, is being overlooked as a triple captaincy option. And I don't think it will take much more from him for us all to be clamouring to get to him very, very quickly. Because he's looked good in his cameo against Brentford and then in the Champions League as well. So I think it won't be long. And game week 8, I think everyone's going to want to be getting to Palmer very quickly because they've got a great run of fixtures. So that João Pedro Palmer double up is looking very tempting by that point. Obviously, things can change very quickly, though. Is Doku a potential given his recent form? 6.4 million. Sadly, I'm going to say no. I mean, look, there's always potential 1 week at a time, but I'm going to say no because the amount of times I've been burnt and people I know and respect have been burnt by picking a Man City option that just isn't completely nailed. And then next week, even if they're in good form, next week they just get taken out because it's a tactical switch by Pep and he's seen something that we mere mortals just cannot clock. I just think it's too risky. I mean, if he starts like 5 more games in a row, I might start getting more tempted, but I just don't think there's ever going to be much before he gets benched randomly. I mean, Savinho's still there. Foden can play wide. Marmoush, we don't know how long he's out for as well. He could play in that sort of left forward slot. Yeah, I just think there's too many options there. So I personally, yeah, I haven't seen enough from him yet. Let's have a quick look at his minutes actually before I just give him a disservice and say he's just a non-option. I mean, yeah. Not for me. I think it's just too risky. He could get pulled from the lineup at any given moment. They've got Champions League. They've got other competitions. Even if he is in their best 11, we don't know which weeks they're even going to play their best 11. There are very few City options I'd be completely confident playing every week. And that would be Haaland, Reinders, maybe Foden if we keep seeing more from him, but not there yet on him. Maybe Donnarumma now, but again, it's early days. You never know. Yeah, just not for me at the moment. But I appreciate and again, please always play it your own way. I don't want to ever put someone off of thinking differently in FPL. But yeah, it's not a pick I would personally be considering. Agree, wouldn't hit into triple captain. Yep, completely agree, Martin. Captain Watkins, he's going to fire tomorrow. Triple E, I really hope you're right. I really hope you're right. I am desperate for that Watkins haul. Just because so many people have sold him. I mean, I've absorbed 2 price drops on him now. It would be so sweet if he finally did return against Sunderland, especially because after Sunderland, he's got a good little run. He's got Burnley, he's got Spurs. I don't mind it for the next 4. I really don't. So, I mean, look, I am still looking at wildcarding 6, 7, 8, something around that. But if he fires against Sunderland, that might be enough for me to postpone the wildcard to about game week 8 because that Burnley home fixture looks really good. And I don't think I'd be wildcarding into Villa, even with that fixture coming, considering what's coming around the corner after that with Man City, Liverpool, Bournemouth after that. So it would be quite nice to postpone the wildcard and have him for Burnley at home after most people have sold. So yeah, I really hope you're right. Gravenberch or Sob for midfield. I wouldn't be picking either of them. I mean, Gravenberch's just not an FPL pick, sadly. He gets good minutes, but he won't get returns across the season. Not to the rate that you'd want. Szoboszlai has looked good in times and at times, and the data previous to this season wasn't actually as bad as you might think, but I would always be cautious with Liverpool that's blocking another option at some point. I mean, all of us or a lot of us have Salah. Isak might become more popular. You've got other Liverpool midfielders. Vert's a bit of a controversial one at the moment, but I think he'll come good. Gakpo. You've got Liverpool defenders like Van Dijk. I just don't have Szoboszlai in my top 3, and therefore I think it could be a waste of a spot over time. So again, yeah, I'd probably not go with either right now, personally. Especially because after this week, the fixtures aren't great either. Like, it's not like the fixtures are worth buying in for. You've got Palace away, Chelsea, Man United. I mean, they're not bad, but they're not, I need to go Szoboszlai deep to get triple Liverpool or anything. Bosunu's saying, Ndai's been my favourite FPL asset so far this season. You know what? Not far off for me either, funnily enough. He's not gotten like massive returns, but He's done well. He's ticked over nicely. He's got DEFCON once. He's got a couple of goals from open play, which people were saying he was basically incapable of at the start of the year. But I think he's looked amazing. Like, on the pitch, on the eye, he's looked like an absolute baller. He's played 90 minutes in every week that he was completely fit. And 63 came off because he took a little knock. But the data's looking pretty good. He is on penalties as far as we know. He's ticking all the boxes for me. And the funniest thing is that I saw this morning is apparently he's picking up enough sales that he might drop in price, which to me is just bonkers. I cannot believe that. Yes, this week it's a bad fixture against Liverpool, but I think he's playable. And after that, you've got, is it West Ham at home? Yeah, West Ham at home, followed by Crystal Palace at home. He's fine. I just don't think you need to move him on. And I've really enjoyed owning him. Raya or Dubravka for tomorrow? Good question. Raya. They're just such a good defence. Would I be shocked if they managed to keep him out? No. I in a 50-50 like that, I said it towards the start of the stream, I always end up backing the best defence. And Raya is in the best defence. And we looked at the odds on Solio earlier. I'll quickly refresh people's memory in case you've joined in the last half an hour or so. But Arsenal are the 4th favourites for a clean sheet this week at home to Man City. That is absolutely nuts. I mean, Burnley, where are they? Burnley, even with a much better fixture against Nottingham Forest, are down comfortably bottom half for clean sheet odds this week. So, yeah, there you go. I would be going with Raya personally. As tough as the fixture is, Arsenal are a absolutely elite defence. Am I expecting a clean sheet? No. But do I think the clean sheet is more likely than it would be for Burnley? Yeah, probably. But not much in it. But yeah, I'd start Raya. Want to bring in Palmer for Cunha for free, but worried Palmer is a doubt. Do you think it's worth the risk? I depend. For me, it depends like what that transfer could be used for. I think objectively, if you had unlimited free transfers, it's worth the risk. I think Palmer is slightly better than Cunha this week, and I don't think he's that much of a doubt. I think he will probably play. Almost, I would be pretty confident he plays even. But is it worth a transfer if it prevents you from using a free transfer later on for something with higher upside? That would be the question I'd ask there. Objectively, one or the other, I prefer Palmer and I think it's worth the risk. But is it worth the transfer when Cunha's probably going to play? I don't know about that. I think there might be future moves that might pay off more for you, potentially. With Szoboszlai boils down to corners. Yeah, that's true. They do look dangerous from corners. Is he going to continue taking as many as he has done? I don't know. Possibly. I am not a Liverpool corner set piece expert, so I'm not sure on that. Obviously, he has a great free kick on him, as we saw recently against Arsenal. But I think Van Dijk is the better option, as you say in the chat. Personally, I think if you've got 3 Liverpool, Van Dijk would fit into that. I'm not sure Szoboszlai would personally. Is Papa Sarr the best 5 million mid? I would say no, because I think he will not be playing in that cam role for all that much longer with Xavi Simons in. So I would say Dewsbury Hall is the best 5 million mid, personally. Are there any others I'm forgetting? How do we even do this? I mean, I hate the UI on this. Right, best 5 million mids. Do we have anyone better than... I don't think we do. Better than Dewsbury Hall. I mean, Cullen's doing well so far, but I probably wouldn't be picking him. Xhaka, maybe. Stack. Brooks could be very interesting. I think Dewsbury Hall is my favourite for longevity. He looks nailed for minutes. Decent attacking upside. Arriving in the box late. Sarr's looked good so far, but I think he'll have a more withdrawn role soon. So yeah, I think for future planning, Dewsbury Hall is the one I'd be most interested in. Possibly Brooks if he maintains the minutes. Although he did come off. Okay, he is coming off quite early. Maybe not Brooks. What do you think about Grealish? How much? I mean, Grealish, more assist threat than goal threat, but he will get the odd goal. It's not like he's incapable of scoring. I prefer Ndiaye to Grealish. I've been saying that from the off, but I don't think Grealish is a bad pick. I think the 1.8 million transfers he got in last week was a bit of an overreaction, and he's not going to get 2 assists a match like he was doing. But I think he will get 10 to 15 assists this year, maybe 5 goals, and probably proved to be a good FPL pick. I think that probably Undai is the better one out of the two, personally. But I think he's still a good pick. I don't think he's bad by any means. 2 rogue punts tomorrow. Dubravka over Sanchez and Gakpo captaincy. I mean, Dubravka over Sanchez I don't think is that rogue, Andrew. I think that's absolutely fine. Don't think there's much in it between those two keepers. Gakpo captaincy is a bit more rogue, but I don't mind that at all. I think Liverpool is, well, they've got the best expected goals in game week 5 against Everton, 2.25. It's not high, but it's high. It's higher than any other club. So yeah, getting a slice of that action. Gakpo seems pretty good for minutes. I don't hate that at all. Thoughts on Harvey Elliott joining as another 5 to 5.5? Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in Elliott once we see the exact position he's taking up and once the minutes improve. But yeah, I mean, I like the next few fixtures. So yeah, if you're on a wild card, I don't hate that. I think he starts against Sunderland, looked good in the cup, got the goal. Obviously, Villa's first goal of the season came from a new signing, Elliott. So yeah, I think we'll see some good stuff from Elliott this season. He'll play centrally more often than not, I think, as well. He'll link up the goal threat. I think, yeah, he's a good pick at 5.4. I don't dislike it, but it might be a bit early for me as quite a conservative manager to go there just yet. Raya or Dubravka, I'd start Raya. Wirtz or Gakpo, I don't know whether that's start or to buy, or I mean, I prefer Gakpo out of the two now in most conversations, actually. So whether it's to start or to buy, I think Gakpo is the better option personally. But I think Wirtz will come good. I'm still bullish on Wirtz having a good season. I don't think it'll be a bad year for him. Yeah, by the way, if you're enjoying the stream, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does go a long way. I'll probably be around for another 10-15 minutes if anyone wants to get more questions into the chat. We've gone through team news already. We've had a look at the live market odds as well. I'm just ticking off things that I needed to talk to you guys about. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much there, really. So I'll answer a few more questions. If there are any big ones in the chat, I'm more than willing to wait around and try and answer you as best as I can. But I think more often than not, a lot of people are rolling this week, and a lot of people are like pretty confident on their moves this week more than most. I mean, I've known from the second the team refreshed that I was probably rolling this week. I think it would take something pretty random or bizarre to happen for me not to roll. I mean, looking at my team, I'm realistically expecting Undai to be playing ahead of Sarr because I think Sarr will be out, and I actually think that both Murillo and Strand Larsen will play, you know, but I'm an optimist. If they don't play, then I'm looking at Tarkowski and Esteve off the bench, and I'm not loving it, but I don't think it's worth the transfer. And the reason I don't think it's worth the transfer, if I go over to my Game Week 5 side here on Solio. So that's this week. Even without transfers, I mean, I've got slightly above the mean in terms of like that bell curve at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but I'm expected slightly over the average points from the crowd. I've got 54% chance of a green arrow. I'll take that this week. And an 11% or an almost 12% chance of getting a green arrow of 10 plus points. So if things go my way, it could be a pretty decent week with rolling. But then next week, I think the upside is way bigger. So moving across to next week, my current transfer plan would be to sell sell Strand Larsen and sell Salah, and get in Haaland and captain him, and then get in a player 7.5 or below. Now, I've got Xavi Simons in there as a bit of a placeholder for my planning, but right now, at time of recording, it could be Semenyo. If Haaland or Semenyo have a price rise, then I'll be locked out of that. I can't do it, so I am considering those other options. I like Reinders, I really do, against Burnley at home. I like Kudus as well. I do like Xavi Simons. There's a few others. I mean, someone mentioned Matoma in the chat. I'm not sure it's the week for it personally in Game Week 6. Gibbs White I can currently afford as well at 7.5. They would play Sunderland at home that week. So again, not a bad one. Rodgers, never a bad pick. Although he's been pretty terrible this season, admittedly. There's loads of good options I can afford, but provide me with decent enough upside in that second spot without taking a hit. And then next week, I've got 73% chance of a green arrow, almost a 50%, 44% chance of a 10-point gain on the crowd. I think next week, is a week to be attacking. But this week, in order to attack next week, I need to roll the transfer so I can get to Haaland without a hit. Because if I take a hit, then straight away that average score comes down to maybe plus 3.9. It's not that good. So yeah, I think this week for me is a week to roll, personally. I'm not expecting fireworks. I'm not expecting a great week this week, honestly. I would not be surprised with a holding rank or potentially a red arrow. I don't think that is something that would crush me this week. But next week, I'm hoping to make up for that in spades. And I think this week is one where I just hope that Murillo and Strand Larsen play, personally. Should I sell Kudus? And if so, to who? No, do not sell Kudus. Not worth it right now. Do I think he would survive on a wildcard for me? Maybe not, but is he a sell? Absolutely not. He's taking some great set pieces. Spurs look like they really worked on set pieces as well. So I think that he will get assists in the next few game weeks, and he's got 2 decent enough fixtures. I'll use Porro as the example here. Brighton, Wolves, Leeds in the next 3. Aston Villa after that. Unless you're wildcarding away from them, I wouldn't be selling Spurs assets, Kudus included. What else we got? So Thiago or Adingra, bearing in mind I'm starting Konza and Watkins. I would treat them as separate issues. I wouldn't be worried about starting Aston Villa versus them. Like, obviously, the matchup thing isn't ideal, but I wouldn't be making decisions based on that. I'd be picking the players you expect to score the most points, even if they're up against each other. I think Thiago is the better of the picks. I think there's a good chance he's back on penalties after Sharda missed the last one. And I've been pretty encouraged with Thiago so far. I'd be looking at Thiago personally. Adingra, not a bad pick, but I don't think I'd be playing him over Thiago. So yeah, I think Thiago is your answer there. Good chance of penalties. Yeah, I think any striker where there's a good chance of penalties, against Fulham as well, I don't think it's an awful fixture for them. I would go Minte over Mitoma. Fixtures aren't there for Brighton yet, though. They're average fixtures. I don't think they're amazing. So yeah, I mean, probably not prioritising them. I think that's fair. I think Mitoma against Spurs this week is a quite good matchup, considering he'll be going up against a very advanced Porro. But yeah, outside of that, they are middling fixtures at best, aren't they? I mean, they get a bit better game week 10, they've got Leeds. They've not really ever got a patch of like insanely good fixtures. I mean, maybe 17 to 20, but they've got Arsenal in the middle of them. So if you can bench them 1 week, they're in 18, fine. But yeah, I like Minte at the price, 5.9. Mitoma, is he 6.4 now? I think he's 6.4. Yeah, 6.4. Don't mind them, but don't love them. Hey, Sam and chat, went with free hit this game week. I'd love to see what a free hit looks like this week. I really struggled to pick an optimal side this week. I just think it's one of those weeks it's quite hard. But yeah, good luck. Who would you captain between Haaland, Semenyo, Ekitike? Oof. Out of those 3, I mean, immediately I would be concerned about Ekitike's minutes. I just don't know if he's going to start. I think he'll get some minutes, but I don't know whether he's going to start. And if he starts, he'll probably only get 60 odd. So probably not Ekitike. Semenyo's been in great form, but Kluivert's not far from being back in the fold, so he might not have penalties and going up against one of the best defences in the league so far this season. Haaland is going up against the best defence in the league, but he's Erling Haaland. I think I'd go Haaland out of the 3. I think he's likely to get 90 minutes. He's on penalties for sure. And he has the best XGI in the league by a country mile. So even up against the best defence, I think he's probably the best of those 3 picks for me. And with that, I think we're kind of out of questions at the moment. And yeah, I mean, I wish I was doing something exciting this week that got loads of views and I could thumbnail it and I could exaggerate about how great this week was going to be. But I'm going to be really boring this week. Probably roll, use my bench, go on the attack next week. Next week's going to be a bit more exciting. Loads more questions next week, I expect, about triple captaincy, about playing other chips, wildcard maybe, free hit for quite a few. But yeah, this week just seems like one of those weeks that honestly, unless something really crazy happens, I think this is going to be one of those weeks that even in 4 or 5 game weeks, we're going to forget all about what happened in game week 5. And it's just not going to be one that will live long in the memory. But Maybe I'm wrong. Things can happen anyway. Maybe this is like a 5-5 Man City Arsenal draw and Chelsea score 8 against Man United and João Pedro captain his feast, and like, who knows? Things can happen in the Premier League, but I don't see it this week. I think it's expected the lowest amount of goals across a 10 game week for the last 2 years. I think the lowest expected goals on average. So I'm not expecting fireworks, but who knows? Who knows? I mean, fingers crossed for this game week. I'm not expecting anything big. If I can hold rank at about 1.4 million this week, I'd be happy, and then go on the attack next week. But I wouldn't be mortified if I got a small red this week either. I don't think it's the end of the world. Anyway, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have enjoyed the stream, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I will see you. So, I mean, G-Wiz, I was about to say goodbye, but yeah, G-Wiz in the chat saying, don't think I'll be forgetting Game Week 5 anytime soon. I've taken a -8 and given Van Dijk the armband. Well, yeah, I mean, for you personally, that is going to be memorable. I really hope that pays off for you, by the way, because that is what FPL is for, isn't it? A bit of fun, captaining someone a bit rogue, taking a -8. I really hope it pays off, and hopefully this will be a memorable week for all the right reasons for you. And yeah, with that, I am going to say goodbye. I'm going to go start cracking on with some dinner. Good luck with Game Week 5 tomorrow, and I'll see you starting off with the Game Week 6 conversations on Sunday evening, maybe Monday morning. And yeah, thank you all so much for joining as always, and I'll see you very, very soon once again. Cheers, guys.